Hello, and welcome back to another live Pioneer commentary game with myself, John, and my partner, Jay. And Jay, we got two fairly interesting skews here, two different prowess decks. Can you
Yeah,
run
so
me through what the Azorius one's trying to do?
yeah, so we've got Azorius Prowess, and we've also got Is It Prowess. Azorius Prowess is basically just a mentor deck that also runs Thing in the Ice. And the Is It one, what does that one do?
Well, Is It Prowess is it's a fairly standard prowess deck. It would run cards like Monastery Mentor, Sprite Dragon, just cut. So your standard spell slinging decks that rely on spells to do things cool. And speaking of seeing things, we got a Sprite Dragon and a Thing in the Ice face to face for both players. At the moment, the Sprite Dragon is just a measly little 1/1.
But it will
And
probably grow. Here we see a Play with Fire to get the first counter on.
I think this makes sense here. I don't think the Is It Prowess player is able to deal with the Thing in the Ice. So rushing damage is not necessarily a bad plan in this position.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised though, because they gave away one Play with Fire and then a Lightning Strike. They could have easily dealt with the Thing in the Ice. So it looked like they're just saying they they want to, kill them before the Thing in the Ice flips anyway, so they don't
Yeah.
even need to kill the Thing in the Ice.
It is an interesting idea. I guess if the life's low enough, right? A 7/8 when these are prowess players at 20 doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah, agreed. But returning everything to hand does make quite a difference, especially with Sprite Dragon, because Sprite Dragon does accumulate all of those counters over time. And we
Mm.
see Blue White Prowess pick up a Make Disappear and pass a turn.
Ooh. And an end of turn lightning strike. Will there be a response? No response. Just takes a 3. Sprite Dragon gets a little bigger.
Yeah,
I
I'm
believe it is a 4/4 now.
Yeah, I'm not sure about keeping that Make Disappear, considering that the Prowess player just has the Is It Prowess player just has so much mana available to be able to pay for the two for Make Disappear, and they can't get Casualty by any means. We do
Mm.
see a Lay Down Arms in Blue White Prowesses, and a very odd choice, considering they only have one planes at the moment. They can't even use it on.
It's yeah.
Oh, and here we see them flashback or consider using Founding the Third Path. And they're choosing to keep it on top and draw it. What was it? Oh, it was an opt.
Wait.
What is
Okay.
this?
It is a card that's 3 mana instant where your opponent chooses whether to take 4 damage or allow the person playing the card to draw 3 cards.
Well, that's pretty good. So,
It's it's pretty funny in this situation, and the Azorius is the prowess player opting to take the damage.
yeah, I think they're scared of burn spells regardless, or haste creatures. I'm not too sure. You can see that they chose to play the opt on the opponent's turn to try and bounce the creature before the creature will be able to, get replayed and attack.
And they slip out the back in response to not let that bounce happen.
Yeah,
Um,
so now you desperately need any kind of removal for that Sprite Dragon from Blue White.
yeah. Well, currently, Red Dragon is phased out, so it's not interactable in the game currently.
Yep. There is a Wandering Emperor in hand, so potentially we might see our Emperor come down and try and exile that card. Oh, and we
Uh,
see a Lightning Strike, so that's going to
a
put.
lightning strike off the top. So it's not gonna. The Sprite Dragon isn't gonna grow bigger, but maybe this is there to bait out a counterspell, possibly.
Yeah, and I believe the Prowess player was thinking whether they can Emperor now, but they can't because, like you said, it was still phased out.
Oh, and so flashing back the card,
Sorry, not flashback, jump start.
jump starting the card, and the Azorius player opting to allow for the draw. They can't afford that damage now. And
Yeah, because they would
the
literally
Prowess
be
player is still looking for something.
probably just burn or slip out the back.
Okay. And the Is It Prowess player is
Oh,
opting to
so
bounce his own Sprite Dragon.
one thing bouncing does is it stops the blue-white player from gaining the 2 life as well, which is
Hmm.
actually quite a difference. And what
Oh,
does this card do?
this is a riddle form. So I guess I can kind of see where this is going. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it becomes a 3/3 flyer, which is pretty good at interacting against games where the opponent only has sorcery speed board wipes or removal.
Yep, so lay down arms is sorcery speed. And they did actually find another plains here in irrigated farmland, so they actually do have another plains. It's quite interesting here because it did look like the Is It Prowess player just completely ran over, and they'll probably win the game next turn if they have a non-creature spell to attack with riddle form. It doesn't look like the blue-white player can do anything apart from maybe try draw into something with memory deluge or
Hmm.
but I'm not even sure what they could be drawing into. I
We,
think their
we
list might play Elspeth's Smite,
yeah.
so maybe that, but not too sure. But we can see that the Is It Prowess player is down to 6 life. So Thing in the Ice actually is pretty good for them, and it has been quite a problem. And if Is It Prowess stumbles a little bit here, they can't find a non-creature spell or something like that, then potentially
Oh,
they could win.
a main phase draw card into Leisure Shredder. So you do have the flying blocker. They have a 2/2 knight samurai, I guess it's supposed to be on the
Yeah.
and this is a beginning of upkeep scry using the riddle form, and they're casting the Sprite Dragon now. Make Disappear mana is not available. Oh, and a Kamano just to
Oh,
trigger both creatures.
and then the
And
spell pierce stops the Kumano. Oh, and that's 2 flyers, so that will be game.
oh, a pretty explosive start for the Is It Prowess player. But and like I said, it didn't really need to interact with the Thing in the Ice because it probably
True.
felt quite safe just sort of pushing the damage.
Very true. But also another thing, the blue-white player is 1 turn away from winning. You know, if they potentially had another planes and were able to take away that Sprite Dragon early, they wouldn't
Hmm.
have taken so much damage. Maybe the game would have ended up differently. So I think
Maybe.
in that first game, I think we saw a good outing from both decks, and I think both the decks showed they had the capacity to win.
Oh yeah, I think had the had the Izzet player drawn a land, for example, they would have lost, right? Because
Yeah,
they would have been able to play the Sprite Dragon as a blocker, then got it exiled.
yeah, through lay down arms, and then that just would have been game.
Yeah, because that would be 8 damage, depending. It would have been 9 damage probably with Ledger Shredder if they connived. Yeah, it would. Yeah, Izzet Prowess player needed exactly that card or any sort of 1 mana burn spell in order to make that happen.
Yeah, so
And
it
in the
looks
sideboard,
like they're bringing in some counter spells as settle the wreckage on the blue-white player's side. What do you think is being brought in for the Is It player?
I think the Izzet player is what he has available is probably things like Mystical Dispute, possibly just cards that sort of interact with blue, because the blue v blue tempo matchup tends to be decided on the counterspell sweep, right?
Yeah, it usually is decided just on who has more mystical disputes and who can
So
play them fast.
we do see some great shuffling from the Is It Prowess player. You know, that
Te-
that
te-
guy that
te-
guy
te-
looks like he's going to be successful.
Technically not shuffling. You're not allowed to use it as a shuffle method.
Well, you
Yeah,
are.
it's not pile shuffling. It's pile sorting.
Well,
It's
you
not a
shuffle.
legal. It's not a legal way to shuffle. You're allowed to do it, but you must shuffle way more afterwards.
Oh yeah, which is
Yeah,
what the Is It Prowess player does.
yeah. So there's a little fun fact for you there.
I believe the rule was you're only allowed to do it once per
Yeah, you're only allowed to do it
game.
once, but it also doesn't count as a shuffle. It's
Yeah,
pile
like
sorting. I believe it's probably too easy for a player to maybe stack their deck in a certain way and like what's it called, mana ripple. You know,
oh, you mean mana weave?
that's what I meant. Yeah, sorry. So that's probably why they
You're
implemented something like
accusing the
this.
Is it Prowess player of mana weaving now.
Yeah, I am. I
Oh,
am.
I see. Look at that
Uh,
mana weaving. They're mulliganing. Well, good with great mana weaving, Jay.
I know. Oh, we actually get to see their hand. So Supreme Verdict, Settle the Wreckage, Dovin's Veto, Faithful Mending, Consider, Seacram Coast, a Darker Wastes for the blue-white player.
Well, so no creatures,
No
a two
creatures.
land hand, but Dovin's Veto, very good card in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you get a Consider, so probably finds a land or a creature. You get Faithful Mending, gains you some life, which is quite important in this matchup, and,
Yeah.
lets you cycle through as well. And then you've got two sweepers, which actually help quite a lot against an aggressive deck. So
Mm.
it's not that bad of a hand, and I can see why they kept. And here we see a very good start from, is it Prowess? Exactly what they want. Monastery Swift Spear.
Turn one, Monastery Swift Spear, and an opt-in response, or opt-in to turn. We do see the laydown arms. Do we see a plains on the board? We do not. The
No,
laydown arms is currently not doing anything.
I'm not sure about Laydown Arms, so it will probably get discarded to Faithful Mending.
Oh, and a Sprite Dragon. And a Dovin's Veto, unfortunately, does not counter creature spell.
Creatures. Yeah, but Faithful Mending, I mean, it's turn two and already up to 19 life. Probably feels pretty good
Mhm.
for blue-white Prowess. And, they've got ways to deal with those creatures in their hand, short slip out the back.
We do
And
see the Supreme Verdict as well.
stop that. It looks like they drew into a Ledger Shredder, so they'll probably play that. I see no reason not to.
I mean,
Pretty
it
decent
would
blocker,
be the reason I would say they wouldn't play that would probably be the Supreme Verdict. Oh, and the Fry.
potentially. But
And a
but they
Fry.
they also have a recommission in their hand, so playing it, they don't really lose anything because they're able to just recommission it.
Yeah.
And a 2/4 after it's been recommissioned, actually quite a decent blocker. And
You know,
it looks like they drew a Witness Protection, so they'll probably try Witness Protection, the Sprite Dragon, which will trigger Connive.
mm. And the Sprite Dragon is a 2/2 because it still maintains the counter, but it won't maintain any more counters for the rest of the game, unfortunately. And just Jay, when you see the card Fry, doesn't it just look like that's where the missing legs on the Ledger Shredder art is?
Yeah, I guess. I guess it does. I do like Fry. I think Fry is a wonderful card. I do think Rending Volley's taken a little bit of Fry's, stock, but I still love Fry.
I think Fry does have the advantage of being able to target planeswalkers as well. So I guess when you pay that extra mana, there is sort of that like, what is it doing kind of thing. The
Yeah.
Ledger Shredder currently is a 2/4.
Sorry, no, it's a 3/5. It's got two counters on, and they choose to discard the Supreme Verdict. So now
Mm,
it's a 4/6, I believe, and they
yeah.
accidentally saw an extra card.
Oh, the Azorius Prowess player cheating.
I know. I'm
Let's see how it is.
surprised at them getting rid of Supreme Verdict and keeping the Settle the Wreckage. It's probably because Supreme Verdict doesn't deal with Ripple Form or Kumano. However, we have seen, potentially counters, potentially Mystical Dispute out of Visit Prowess. Settle the Wreckage. If it feels very bad when that gets countered, so not sure about that. And it looks like they're not looking to
Mm,
sell the wreckage; they're just looking to hold up defenders. Oh,
yeah,
and
which
so
is
so
not a
it's
bad position.
especially since both of them have flying and they're getting quite big. And for a burn deck, it's quite hard to deal with. A 4/6 Ledger Shredder can't be
Hmm.
fried.
No, no, that definitely is too big for the Friar. I don't think the Colonel will be happy. I think the Colonel would have wanted to fry that, but just not gonna happen.
Yeah, and we see a Wandering Emperor and a Settle the Wreckage in a hand for Azorius Mentor. So
Mm.
one of those will probably come down at instant speed at some point.
And this is so the Izzet Power player is opting to try to go wide. on top of the Azorius player going tall. And I guess the Ace of Prowess player must be feeling a little confident, seeing
Yeah,
the Supreme Verdict getting discarded.
yeah. I mean, they're choosing to slip out the back the Ledger Shredder, and that
The
does
bigger
happen.
one. Yeah.
So now they're just looking to get as much damage across as possible with what they have on their board, and what they have on the board is quite a lot.
Yeah. So swing with everything just to do as much damage as possible. Now, we do know there's a Cell Wreckage in hand. But
Yeah,
we also see mana open for the Prowess player.
is there a counter in the Prowess player's hand? Oh, there is not. Wow, a five
Oh,
creature settle the wreckage.
and the Izzet player just scoops to that.
I mean,
Oh,
I guess they just knew they couldn't deal with the what is it, 5/7 Ledger Shredder that was going to come back.
yeah. Oh, and there's always players showing that they had the Emperor as well. And Izzet player's back in the sideboard. I think he's seen something he didn't like there.
What do you think they brought in? Maybe a witness protection for like a big shredder or something? I'm
Well,
not too
so far they
sure.
put in one extra card. So it's possible it might be another counterspell.
Maybe.
But
Yeah, definitely possible, or maybe another slip out the back to get around these sweepers that they've now seen more of. Because they didn't see any sweepers game one, I don't think, but now they have seen them.
yeah. So now with that knowledge, and we know that the Azores player is opting not to reboard himself or herself.
Yeah, I
We
reckon they should probably take out that lay down arms. I'm very surprised to see lay down arms in a deck with so little plains type lands.
it is a I guess because what we was there any we saw the irrigated plains. We saw that they play plains. Are there any hollowed fountains in this list?
Yeah, I believe this player is playing with 4 hallowed fountains, so
I
they
just
they
didn't see
they
it.
they do have like 10 plains sources, I believe, in their deck, but that is not enough to play a card like Lay Down Arms.
Hmm.
It is not live enough of the time, especially since it's got so many drawbacks being sorcery speed and giving your opponent 3 life. It's just not worth it. If you're gonna
And
play if you're gonna play it, you've got to play 4 Irrigated Farmland and also 4 Prairie Stream to be able
yeah,
to fully make use of it.
and I do think like we two games in a row, sort of back to back. We saw like how even though these are Prowess players playing with cheaper creatures, it just hasn't hit.
Yeah,
Like,
it's pretty insane. All you need is 2 planes and it can hit pretty much all the creatures in the Is It Prowess deck, and it just isn't. So here we see Is It Prowess keeping blue white control. Blue white Prowess, blue white Mentor, going down to 6 cards. This probably isn't where you want to be for blue white.
hmm,
You're on the draw against an aggressive deck, going down to 6 cards. Yeah, it's probably not looking great.
it was probably just like maybe a lack of lands or too many lands. And but the Is a Prowess player opting to keep. Maybe it's a decent hand. Maybe. I believe the Is a Prowess player is a massive believer in the one land snap keep. When you think about how low the mana base is for the deck, it's not so unreasonable, even on the play, to keep a one lander if you have a turn one play.
Yeah, I'm never a fan of turn one keeps unless you have like something like multiple considers, like multiple ways to find a land, because then you're just unlucky if you don't find one. I'm not a fan of only keeping one land.
We see a Kamano straight out the gate for the Izzet player. Take up the 2 and taking 2 damage and passing.
So maybe
Okay.
we're just gonna see a lightning strike end step, or 2 play with fires or something like that. Or maybe they're holding
Possibly.
up mystical dispute to try and, get a ledger shredder.
Sort of it is a fairly
Oh,
interesting
I
keep.
did I did see a flash of a card. There was a fry, so they shocked in because the 2 life doesn't matter that much in this kind of matchup to them. They shocked in
Hmm.
so that they would be able to fry, or if the opponent did play a ledger shredder.
Yeah. And we do see up to 4 mana, a second Kamano coming down. Waiting for response, no response.
Yeah,
And
they did have the absorb in hand, so I'm not sure why they didn't just
hmm.
play that. They've got a wandering emperor in their hand.
This
and then
must be
absorb.
played during the end of their turn.
Yeah,
So
so
these are
lightning
players
strike.
pass turn.
Yeah, lightning strike with it. Oh, a spell pierce. So now
Oh,
11 life, facing 2 damage a turn, soon to be 4 with the other Kumano against a player with a lot of cards in hand. It's not looking good for blue-white Mentor.
all right. And he's a Prowess player not deciding not to keep the Crucible, which I don't know. Does the Is Prowess player need 5 mana in this type of game?
Yeah, probably not. That's a good point. They probably would rather just attack. And I think we're
Hmm.
seeing here the blue-white Mentor deck just get punished for not absorbing one of those Kumanos earlier to gain the 3 life.
And we
They
do see the
absorbed one.
absorb. Oh,
Mystical Dispute.
to force the Azorius Prowess player to tap down. So they are on 8. 2 commanders on the board, down to 4.
Yeah. So if they kept the Sokenzan, they would be able to deal 2 more damage there.
Yeah. Oh, but they've decided to jumpstart.
Oh, that should be exiled.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Azorius Prowess player immediately going, should not
A
be
bit,
exiled.
yeah, be a bit overpowered. Every turn you draw, you'll be like, all right, let me draw 3 cards or take 4 damage.
Oof. Well, there was a point where this card was an absolute all-star in its standard format. It's interesting to see here, but I guess it kind of makes sense. You want a spell that is sort of recurring but does what you want to do either way, right? Like
Yeah.
you want to either be drawing more cards or dealing more damage.
I'm not sure what's gonna happen here for Blue White Mentor. They have a Treasure Cruise in the hand and they're choosing not to play it. I think they're keeping Absorb up just to stay alive.
And another shock. So a lot of mana. They want to keep a lot of mana available. And we do
Yeah.
see the absorb coming down against the riddle form,
I mean,
or at least a thought.
you do have to probably absorb it here. I mean, you've got no. The blue white player has no way to deal with this. Oh, and they're
But
choosing not to absorb it.
oh boy. And they're opting.
I
And
think maybe they're thinking that the Is It Prowess player has burn in their hand and that they have to keep
mm,
a the mana open to counter it.
which is not a bad idea, but then they need to deal with the board now, or they just lose the commando anyway. Absorb's not gonna stop that.
Yep.
And looks like they're gonna cast the treasure cruise. Oh no, faithful mending.
No,
No
no,
treasure
no.
cruise.
I think they're treasure cruising, but keeping faithful mending in the graveyard just in case they need it.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes
Yeah,
sense. So they draw 3 cards, and
yeah. It's not looking good. You've got another settle, so
yeah.
but lightning's unlikely to strike twice. I reckon there'll be a counter in Izzet Prowess's
Oh, and
hand.
a end of turn scry to manipulate the draw slightly, and a upkeep scry to once
Yeah.
again do that. And they like what they saw on top.
I reckon it's just because if you draw play with fire or something like that, you've pretty much won the game. So any burn on top, you want to be able to play. And here we see they're not able to settle the wreckage because they got to absorb just to stay alive. And here we see
And
an
7
attack.
damage from the crackback.
Oh, and they were saying that if they didn't have the tap land with irrigated farmland, they would have been able
They
to
would have
settle the wreckage.
settled. Yeah. Oh man. And
So
that was the difference.
those were some close games there.
Mm.
I think game 1 could have gone either way. Game 3, it felt like blue white was on the backseat. That spell pierce on the Emperor was brutal. And we saw they
It was
took
one
out.
of those it's one of those MLG moments, as we say in the business, Jay.
Yes, indeed. All right, John, would you like to wrap it up?
Well, I like to think these 2 decks, like you said, Jay, could have gone either way. It was a good game, and yeah. Like and subscribe to the Old Emo Dave channel, where we post more live Pioneer content and more in a minute. No.